First quarter, now we in the fourth quarter, man.
T4Q.
Welcome to the show.
I like that one. That was good.
That was better
good.
than the first one.
No, that was better than the first one. We had to do a double take for it.
Well, we had to do a double take because producer Pablo forgot to click record, but I think this one was way better than the first one anyway, so it was fine.
No, I completely agree. I think we got to trademark it, though. I mean, it's hard because we have to take this guy's voice, but if we can do it ourselves, I feel like we're good to go.
Yeah, I think it was good enough so that people can't really tell the difference. Like it was pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe it just sounded.
I mean,
really
we'll have to hear it again and see if we're at least 90-95% there. Maybe we'll have AI or like 11 Labs do the rest. But
producer Pablo, what do you think? It was good.
Yeah, I think it was great. I think we could hit the guy up for a partnership.
Yeah, we got to find the guy though. So what if he's watching right now? If he's watching,
that'd be huge.
Look, we're down to throw some moolah. For you to do this.
Well, chances are he's probably not watching our long form, but he might be seeing the short form. They've been mooning as of recent. We're about to hit 9,000 followers on Instagram. We just started posting on YouTube Shorts, and they've been doing pretty well. One with your face as the thumbnail. It's about to hit 10,000 views.
Yeah. I mean, we just started posting on YouTube Shorts too, and that's our fourth video. It's about to hit 10,000 views. So hopefully YouTube Shorts is kind of the gateway to get into our long form because there's just so much value here.
And the growth driver for our subscriber base.
Exactly. So super excited. There's a bunch of stuff that we're going to be covering today. I know there's mergers, competitors against UFC. We're talking about Underdog being sold, but there was one big news story that I know that we want to kick it off with.
Yeah, the World Cup ended, but somehow FIFA is not escaping the headlines. This past week, they almost broke the sports world, and then they reversed it. So they kind of saved themselves a little bit in the public eye, but let's dive in. 4 days. It took 4 days from the greatest sports federation in the world to go from potentially selling a $4.2 billion equity stake to reversing and shutting down the deal completely. So FIFA announced last week it was spinning off its commercial arm into a $20 billion entity called FIFA Forward Enterprise, and they tried to raise $4.2 billion. And here's the thing, Josh Kushner's Thrive Eternal was supposed to be an anchor investor. By Thursday, all 55 UEFA nations, which is the Union of European Football Association, right?
I believe so.
Union of European Football Associations. Bang, I was right. I shouldn't have judged myself on that. But UEFA, by Thursday, all 55 UEFA nations had to vote to basically boycott the World Cup, and they all just basically were like, no, we're not participating, which was wild. And they said the World Cup cannot be treated as an investment product. No part of it should ever be surrendered to private investors. The World Cup is not for sale. Honestly, completely agree with this. And then by Friday night, FIFA president Gianni Infantino killed it. So shut down those things. Essentially, Josh Kushner wanted to invest in a new entity that would manage the commercial side of the World Cup, which includes broadcast rights, sponsorships, ticketing, and licensing. And this comes just days after Netflix said they were going to buy the FIFA World Cup women's rights for 2027 for $200 million. So not a great look for FIFA because they just came off of a multi-billion-dollar revenue-generating
$15 billion,
$15
actually.
billion.
When they projected only 11.
Yeah, and they crushed it, obviously. Now, new cash insertion through Netflix for the Women's Cup. Apparently, the Men's World Cup for 2030 rights are going to go up for sale, and bidding has already back negotiations have kind of already started, and they're supposed to be at near $1 billion.
Yeah.
That was up from $400 million that Fox paid this past year for the World Cup. So break this down.
Yeah, this is my honest take.
Can I guide you for a question really quickly?
Yeah.
So why would FIFA even explore taking private money like this?
Okay, so I think that's like an interest. In my opinion, a lot of this centers around Gianni Infantino and just his leadership overall with FIFA. He's always positioned himself as kind of the capitalist that's taking the charge, running FIFA, and making sure that as an enterprise, they're able to generate as much revenue as possible. And a lot of it is positioned around distributions for all the member associations. So there's around 211 members associations. It represents nations from the US to Canada to also Cabo Verde and Curacao, which were recently just in this year's World Cup, and they're probably one of the smallest nations to ever even play in the World Cup to begin with. And what he's found is that as you're able to push revenue forward through FIFA's development program, you can redistribute all of that revenue into cash for all these member associations, essentially establishing a patronage system where, hey, the more money that I bring in, the more votes that I'm going to get because I'm providing more money for your organization. And so that's kind of the flywheel that he's built out.
So explain that. So let's just say we're United States as a country, as a part of this. So tell me, can you break that down of like, we bring in more money, we get a piece of this?
So let's not even focus on just U.S. soccer. Let's focus on some of the smaller nations, right?
Okay.
It's 211 nations. There's probably like 40 to 50 of them that are relevant on a 4-year cycle because, let's be real, it's pretty much the same countries that make it to the World Cup, and then you have a few countries that emerge from the shadows, like the Cabo Verdes and the Curacao. And so one thing that Gianni Infantino has consistently asserted is that if we're to bring in more revenue, we can distribute more capital. Right now, it's on average about $8 million a cycle that they're able to distribute to these federations. So
each federation, including these smaller countries, get $8 million across the board. It's like the same.
Yeah. So
Okay.
every single country, like here's the thing, U.S. doesn't really need that
Sure.
Capital injection, but Curacao might in order to build the soccer infrastructure in their country. And so that's how he's been able to gain a lot of these votes and build this momentum.
Okay.
And so now he's on probably the greatest commercial run that FIFA has ever seen. We were just talking about this. $15 billion in revenue. Projection was only $11 billion just for this.
They squeezed every financial opportunity
exactly.
out of the World Cup being
Their media rights
North
are about
America.
to double for the U.S. At the same time, FIFA Women's sold for $200 million. And now he's about to sell he was about to sell $4.2 billion stake in their commercial entity, which is about 21% stake in the business, overall valuing it around $20 billion plus. So in that case, what he wanted to do is say, hey, for all of the member associations, instead of getting $8 million in distributions per cycle, which is like every 4 years, we're going to get you 20. We're going to get you to $20 or $25 million potentially in capital distributed. And so the idea was that we're going to position this as building soccer infrastructure internationally.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, the problem is, and what UEFA had a main issue with, is that it's a bit opaque. You don't really know where this money is going. We don't know who's profiting off this, right? You're building out a commercial arm from a nonprofit. Who's the actual owner? Does Gianni Infantino benefit from this? And so there was a lot of backlash from UEFA, but not only UEFA, CONCACAF, which is the governing body for North America, Central, and the Caribbean, and the Asian Confederation, which is in combined, they represent around 130 plus, I think it's around 130 to 135 countries out of the 211 that were saying, hey, we are not okay with this. UEFA even went so far to say we'll literally boycott the World Cup if this goes through.
Wow. So UEFA and CONCACAF were basically like, no, this isn't happening. And then the world kind of spoke, and then Gianni was just like, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah, and it's actually been a bit of a backfire for him because, to be honest, he was riding really high. He made a lot of money from the World Cup. To be honest, it's one of the best World Cups just in general from a revenue perspective, but also it would happen in North America.
Yep.
There was a lot of viewership in general because that's a primetime location, whether it's Mexico, Canada, or the U.S. And now just actually the English Federation, they've come out and said that they're
withdrawing
their endorsement
Yeah.
of Gianni Infantino to continue to be president of FIFA, which is a huge loss because obviously the English Federation is a major player in the World Cup arena. So it's been kind of tough. Also, there's been a lot of people that are a senior advisor, actually, he resigned literally because of this. And he said, hey, I cannot stand for this. And then Kevin Lamport, I believe, who's the chief operating officer, denounced this deal. And he said, there's only one person behind this and one person only. And didn't get the sign off from the main senior advisors at FIFA.
Was he sneak dissing Gianni?
I believe he was. Kevin Lamar, sorry, not Lamport. Kevin Lamar. So I think that's this kind of, I wouldn't even say it's a sneak diss because he talked to the Associated Press about this. So this is like fully public.
Okay, so I think I know your answer, but is this good for the sport if this deal were to go through?
So I don't think it's good for the sport because ultimately, one, the world has spoke. And at a point in time, if you want to have like a capital partner, there needs to be a traditional process. It almost felt like this was just going to happen to begin with. There was already like an arrangement that happened I think JPMorgan was an advisor to this deal. It kind of just emerged from the shadows.
Yeah,
Like,
normally you see when a deal like this happens, there's multiple bidders, there's multiple different parties. It's just kind of announced that Josh Kushner, Thrive Eternal, FIFA.
Right. And how do we even get to a $20 billion valuation? What if it was valued at 25, 30 billion? Who knows? If there was a formal bidding process, that could have been the case.
Yeah.
And so I feel like there's a lot of just moving pieces here, and the opacity was the real problem. No one really knew what was going on in the background. But I do think that there is a lot. I mean, we see this all the time with like college athletic departments, right? They care a lot about monetizing, which is why they're building out a commercial arm when their athletic department is truly a nonprofit because it's associated with the university, especially public universities. So we've seen this before, but that was in a scenario where they literally have no idea how to commercialize, or not, I wouldn't say no idea, but they haven't done a great job compared to professional entities. Well, I think FIFA and Gianni Infantino have done a terrific job commercializing.
Yeah.
They've already proven that they can make a lot of money even as a nonprofit and still distribute a lot of capital to their members' associations. I don't think a jump from 8 to 20 is really that necessary right now, because gradually it'll get there.
Yeah. No, I tend to agree with that line of thinking. Moving on to our next section. In the world of sports business, it's arguably more important to know where the people within the industry are moving instead of just the capital. So welcome to this segment called The Transfer Portal, where we track the important people and the jobs they're moving to and moving from. Let's get into it. We actually have 3 heavy hitters on this one. So the move 1 is Larry Berg. He went from the co-owner and managing partner of LAFC, the MLS's team based in Los Angeles. He was also senior partner at 26 North and spent 30 years at Palo Global Management. He just became the commissioner of the MLS. He's starting in January 1st of 2027, so just in a few months, he's going to be taking over Don Garber's chair. Berg must sell his stake in the LAFC, and there was no buyer, price, or timeline reported, but I'm sure more stuff will come out, and there hasn't been too much verified outside of that, but congrats to Larry. Moving on to move number 2, Parag Marathe, who is the president EVP of football operations for the San Francisco 49ers. He just became, or I guess left the organization, but still in the parent organization to focus full-time on Leeds United as a chairman and Rangers FC, plus other sports efforts. So the 49er Enterprises group has invested in Leeds United and Rangers FC, so Parag will be going to focus on those. He was actually a front runner for the MLS commissioner's seat, so maybe after that came out, he decided maybe this is not the time or this place where I want to be, or maybe there was some internal discussions and this is where he wanted to focus his time. But very cool to see that case as well. There's not many weeks where multiple heavy hitters like that are moving positions. And lastly, Jeffrey Pash. He was the EVP and general counsel of the NFL from 1997 to 2025 and then was retired. And he was also previously the SVP and general counsel of the NHL. And now he became a partner in the sports group of litigation at Proskauer Rose. Shout out to our friends at Proskauer. I think this is huge. Proskauer, obviously known as the gigantic sports deal lawmaking firm. So it'll be exciting to see him continue his legal career there.
Let's go. That was actually a great transfer.
That was good, right?
Yeah.
That was good.
Also, heavy hitters are moving.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, it's not every day that you have a commissioner that, like, you see a commissioner that gets crowned.
And then
right? So
the second in line, potentially another, front runner going to another position after he was supposed to be, in the MLS commissioner race as well. So
yeah,
crazy to see. All right. Well, moving on to money moves, where we cover all the business moves surrounding professional sports teams and leagues. And first up, we have the most valuable franchise in the NFL, the $13 billion Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones. His empire, they're in the news because they're reportedly exploring a minority stake to private equity. But here's the thing. They don't want any private equity investor or anyone with money. They are looking and eyeing one person in particular. He's also Dallas-based. He also has an experience of owning professional sports teams, and they're ideally wanting Mark Cuban to become a minority owner within the Dallas Cowboys, which is insane if they ever sold. So how this came to be. It was the Cowboys EVP, Stephen Jones, this is Jerry Jones' son, said on a Dallas radio show that Mark Cuban is who they'd want to partner with if they've ever sold a small piece of the Dallas Cowboys. And then Mark Cuban was asked this afterwards, and to our point, which we know obviously, he launched a fund last year with Rashawn Williams based in Atlanta called Harbinger Sports Group or Harbinger Sports Capital, Harbinger Sports Partners.
I think it's Harbinger
all
Sports Partners,
right?
Yeah.
Harbinger Sports Partners. They raised $450 million. They're targeting $750 million. And their entire strategy was buying small pieces of professional sports teams.
Yeah, very similar playbook to Arto Sports.
And they hold for 7 to 10 years. And obviously those assets are trophy assets, so they appreciate over time. So they were looking at $50 to $150 million checks, anywhere from 5%-ish range ownership target. And they would hold for 7 to 10 years, like I just said, and then sell in secondaries. And Mark Cuban was basically saying, responding to Stephen Jones, that he would be very open to exploring a potential deal with the Cowboys if it ever presented itself. So very interesting. The Cowboys made $630 million in operating income last year, making it the most profitable franchise in sports, which is wild. Okay. Now, what I want to ask you is the Jones family does not have any, at least publicly, the Jones family does not have any other limited partners in the Dallas Cowboys. Do you think they should do this and get Mark Cuban on the cap table for the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, so first things first, it's really interesting that this deal has gone through, or like not this deal has gone through, but this deal is being discussed because Mark Cuban, he's investing in sports teams through Harbinger Sports Partners, which recently just bought a stake in the Athletics. But if you all know the way that private equity investment works in the NFL, technically the NFL has to approve a private equity firm to be an investor in any NFL team. And Harbinger is not on that list because when they made that list, Harbinger didn't even exist yet. Sorry, I don't know why that's such a hard
I
name
say
to
Harbinger. I used to say Harbinger. Yeah, I
think
don't
it's
think it
Harbinger.
matters. I think we could just say whatever.
Yeah. So Harbinger essentially isn't technically allowed to invest in NFL stakes, so there would have to be some form of regulatory process by the NFL.
We
So
also
just
don't
really
know if they filed anything, right? This is just early discussions.
Yeah, very
that are
very
happening.
early discussions. But Jerry Jones did say a lot of kind words about Mark Cuban's.
What did he say?
So he said, "That's exactly why if you're me, you'd be open to that because of the man. I have all the respect in the world for him, and I know what he did for the Mavericks and what he's done for basketball. He's in addition to financial boat streams of your team. You want to associate with the highest quality of a person who loves the game and then also at the same time wants to do something about it. Mark leads the way in that." So really kind words.
Yeah, very kind words.
Very kind words. So I actually think that this would be a really interesting investment, awesome opportunity for Mark Cuban. For Jerry Jones and co., they actually bought the Cowboys in 1989 for $140 million, which means that they probably might not even have any LPs because that was affordable back then. For
publicly, there is no others.
I mean, there probably is some. You never know because it's very hard to know like what the cap table is of a sports team. A lot of times, there's like co-owners of sports teams that you won't even know about, and you may not even have heard of the family that owns a small stake in a sports team. But I do think that for Jerry Jones and his family, one, it's an interesting liquidity event, right? You bring on a partner, you're able to get capital out of the business. When in reality, like their business full force is the Cowboys empire that they've built. Secondly, is if there are LPs, they might want to get out and cash out. You're not sure about that. And then third, I do think that there's just a strategic angle of having someone who's a little bit younger, who's won a championship and brought it to Dallas, understands the environment and fan base. The Mavericks were beloved when Mark Cuban owned the franchise.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's taken a turn for the worse since Mark Cuban has left and Luka Doncic was traded. But in reality, that's what happened. Cooper Flagg is the savior there, though. But I do think having a partner like that is actually a good way for the Cowboys to position themselves for the future. Because let's be real, they've positioned themselves as America's team, but they haven't been truly competitive, making a conference championship or a finals or a Super Bowl in 30 plus years. So I think bringing in Mark Cuban and having that strategic angle who, is forward thinking, very tech focused, how can we incorporate that into the business? That type of advisor would be someone to have on your cap table.
I agree, but I disagree with the fact that the Jones family might want liquidity. I mean, obviously, you never know their financial situation or whatever they want at that time. I don't think they need it. It's the most profitable sports empire in the world. They made 600, like I said, $630 million in operating income last year. Like, I don't think they necessarily need the liquidity if they want. They also, they own this empire. I don't think they willingly, I think to your point, they do think Mark Cuban's extremely strategic. He has a Dallas roots. He has a professional sports team ownership background. He's probably the most iconic person to the younger
legend.
generation of team owners in Texas and just kind of in the States. So I think it makes sense. Here's what I think, though. Yes, Harbinger is not part of the 6 approved private equity firms to do deals in the NFL. But here's the thing, right? I don't know if you ever saw Ballers. Ballers is like the TV show with Dwayne
the TV
Johnson.
show.
Yeah.
Entourage for sports, right?
Entourage for sports. Yeah. It was really good the first couple of seasons, but essentially Dwayne Johnson his character is trying to buy the Raiders, essentially, right? So it shows the back end of how like a lot of these deals work and team owners meetings and stuff. And the person that essentially just like runs the show and runs the NFL, or how they portrayed it, was Jerry Jones, because he's like one of the longest, tenured owners. He obviously runs one of the most valuable ones. So I think if any deal is going to get done, and if the NFL seems to be a blockade, I think if Jerry Jones is involved, he'll do it. He's gonna rip it open. So
the one last thing that I want to say about this is, think about it. The Cowboys are valued at $13 billion. Potentially in a sales process, they could be valued at $15 billion. They're never gonna sell the Cowboys. Like, why would they? This is like the most valuable franchise in the world. But if that's the case and they never sell it, there will be no liquidity event, which is why I think at some point in time they will sell a minority stake. Sometimes you just want to have cash in the bank and diversify it, right? Or let's say that they want to put capital back into like real estate around the Cowboys arena, or continue to expand in Arlington. I think then it makes sense to just, we're going to take some cash out of the business through a liquidity process and use that for something else.
Fair. In the other world within the Money Moves segment of teams and leagues, the CEO of a tech company worth $300 billion just put his name in the ring to buy the London NBA Europe team. Let's get into it. Nikesh Arora, the CEO of Palo Alto Networks, is on a list of bidders to buy the team, and he's assembled an all-star roster of investors and prepared to pay more than $1 billion for the London team. The London team in particular for NBA Europe has supposedly attracted hundreds of millions of dollars in various investor groups, including the billionaire Rubin family and a consortium, including Liberty Global and former Tottenham chairman Daniel Levy. So it's pretty interesting. And bids for the 12 European teams were due at the end of June, so just a few months ago. And the NBA reported receiving several bids for the various teams, anywhere ranging from $500 million to $1 billion. The league plans 16 teams, 12 permanent franchises, plus 4 annual qualifiers in partnership with FIBA, and they're targeting a fall 2027 release. We've talked about this a bunch, obviously. ESPN reported more than 20 bids being supported, or 20 groups submitting finalized bids. And the target markets are London, Paris, Madrid, Berlin, Munich, Milan, Rome, Istanbul, Barcelona, Manchester, Lyon, and Athens. I couldn't even count. There's so many on my hands. But yeah, more than 120 investors, PE funds, sovereign wealth funds, individuals, they all expressed interest. And Aurora's track record is pretty interesting in sports. Yes, he's a tech juggernaut, but he put together a consortium called Cricket Investor Holdings Limited, nicknamed the Tech Titans. No, producer Pablo, it's actually not crickets though. Ready? Because he agreed to pay 145 million euros for 49% of the Hundreds London Spirit, which is the new cricket league and team based in
the UK.
Based in the UK. And he beat out players like Tom Brady for it and kind of other people that were very interested. And his consortium includes the CEO of Google, Sundar Pichai, and the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella. So honestly, they are the tech titans. I love this move. I love that he has footprint in sports in London. I think he makes a lot of sense. I don't obviously know who the other investment groups are for this team, but it seems that the money is there, the track record seems to be there, and he wants to be involved. He doesn't want this to just be like a random stake. So the question I have for you is, we've talked about this multiple times over the last couple of weeks, but we've seen tech money continue to pour into sports, with Vinod Khosla buying the Seattle Seahawks and, Melinda French Gates putting together, joining a team to get into the Seattle Kraken. What can we expect from tech players entering the world of sports ownership?
It's not going to stop. I mean, we saw this with Josh Kushner. He bought a minority stake in the San Francisco Giants. He then literally he put his name in the ring for the NBA Las Vegas expansion team, and then was about to own 20% of FIFA. So if anything, tech is not going to stop. And we talked about the philosophy. Look, it's the perfect anti-AI or perfect AI hedge. At the end of the day, this is generational IP that's going to be long-lasting and is impossible to replace by AI, specifically the sports element of the entertainment aspect of owning a team or owning a league. And so I think that for them, this is kind of the opportunity of a lifetime. And it's also a trophy asset that has proven its value and it's proven its return. So tech money is going to just move into sports. Nikesh has had experience with essentially owning a team now because he bought the London's cricket team in the 100 League.
Yep.
And at the same time, he understands the
London spirit.
Yeah, the London spirit. He understands the London landscape. And so I've actually done some digging around what's going on with the London expansion team or the London team for NBA Europe.
Okay.
So London's infrastructure in regards to basketball is very limited, right? All of the infrastructure is primarily around soccer, and cricket obviously is going to go through that same turnaround where there's going to be a lot more infrastructure being built around cricket stadiums as the 100 continues to grow. But that's going to be the same thing with NBA Europe. So all of the bidders, they all have some sort of strategy on how to build the real estate footprint to have a next generation basketball stadium. I was talking to an advisor, or he's a strategic advisor for a bidder for the NBA London franchise. I don't know which consortium it is.
Wait, you kept this from me too.
No, I mean, it was. I have some calls here and there. You know, I have to catch up and see what's going on.
His information, huh? Okay.
So here's the thing. I have this conversation. Actually, Jake Geddes is the one who introed me.
Shout out Jake.
Shout out Jake. But anyways, so I'm talking to him, and he's essentially saying, yeah, like you need to have like a true build up, and I think that Nikesh probably has seen the landscape and what they can build for a cricket stadium and what they can do with a potential basketball stadium if they have an NBA Europe expansion franchise in London. I've also heard that the PIF is very interested in a London team. So you're going up against a pretty heavy-hitting sovereign wealth fund out of Saudi Arabia to win this bid. So in my opinion, we have a $500 million to $1 billion range for some of these franchises. This could be up to $1 billion. Nikesh Arora
he said he's willing to bid up to $1 billion.
Yeah, I mean his net worth is 1.3, 1.5 billion. He's probably leading a consortium. So at the end of the day, like I think he can definitely afford $1 billion transaction given, you know, how many people that he has around him. But look, I'm rooting for Nikesh. I think it's really interesting to have an American player come into the London space, which we've seen before in the Premier League. But
he's also done it in cricket. He's just
exactly
fortifying his position, geographic foothold there.
But was PIF competing for franchises in the 100? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, so this is going to
I wonder why the PIF chose London. Maybe their diligence.
Qatar has Paris.
Okay.
Right, so they have PSG. And so London doesn't really have any basketball.
Yeah, but there's literally 16 other or 12 other locations that they could bid for that are probably less competitive.
But I think there's actually a major Saudi Arabian presence in London. Look at the Premier League, right? You have, I believe Saudi Arabia, they own Crystal Palace, right? So if that's the case, or Newcastle, sorry, not Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace is owned by
Blitzer and Co. So of Newcastle. So if that's the case, they have this London presence. There's a lot of Saudi Arabian wealth in the UK. I think it makes sense.
Okay. Well, I want to disagree with you, but I actually tend to agree with you. All the money in the tech world, or all the money in the world is moving to tech. So the people that are building in tech, I think, are going to end up amassing this capital over this bull run.
But it's sick. It's like tech money versus private equity money versus oil money from the Middle East. Like they're all competing for these sports assets now, right? With these more buyers, like all the value of these franchises are just going to go up.
You gave me a very interesting idea of a newsletter we should do, like a breakdown of all those three players and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, that'd be a great one.
good one, right?
And last thing, go to fourthquarter.com if you want to read a breakdown. I did one on NBA Europe, so if you aren't familiar with what's going on with NBA Europe, go to fourthquarter.com. We have an article for
First
you.
quarter, now we in the fourth.
There we go. Wait, that was a good plug right there. We don't plug enough
for ourselves. Yeah, and it's all free, so you can get smart on it.
Yeah, you should. If you're watching this and you're not consuming that content, you are falling behind. So tune in and let this be the cherry on top. All right, pausing all of our detailed sports deal-making analysis, I want to give a quick break or breather and cover a fun and unreported topic in the world of sports business. Here today, we have something special. There was a finance bro who created the Zillow for gyms to bring pricing transparency to New York City's fitness scene. So there was a 29-year-old guy that is still anonymous, but he walked away from his finance job, and instead of starting a fund or moving from investment banking to private equity or another finance job, he builds a website that tells you what every gym in New York City actually costs. All 5 boroughs, 500 plus gyms, prices scraped daily. He's anonymous. He spent $0 on marketing, and he launched the whole thing on a Reddit thread. Gympricing.com is a free directory comparing what New York City gyms charge, including hidden fees, equipment offerings, and covering all 5 boroughs, like I just mentioned. And I actually went on this website to see. This isn't an ad read, by the way. This is actually just very interesting. I went to see. It's pretty simply put. I think maybe it was vibe coded, but I saw a couple gyms near us that I think we are definitely overpaying for how much I'd like to think we're pretty active, but we should be milking the New York City gym. Like, pricing is very expensive. So like, we should be going every day or very dialed to be getting the most out of it. And I see some other locations near us for other gyms that I'm like, a little cheaper might be better options. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy because I've literally made it a commitment that if I'm going to sign up for a gym membership, I need to go inside the gym, go and talk to a representative, walk through every single cost that they're going to lay upon me. Because if I go online and I'm like, hey, I wanted to sign up for a membership, let's say for a traditional chain or the chain that we go to, right? They have this like monthly payment, but at the same time, there might be like an upfront cost, right?
Sure.
Or sometimes they have random price hikes that you don't even know about, and they'll like mail it to you. They won't even tell you like digitally, like, hey, here's a notification saying that, oh, your monthly cost just went up by $15, $20. All this stuff just exists to absolutely annoy the customer. And I feel like something like this actually brings the level of transparency where it puts the power in the customer, not with the gym. And I think that's necessary. Like, honestly, like, it's so hard for someone to find the right gym for themselves.
I mean, this guy might have an opportunity to become the next points guy for,
A
what the
legend.
points guy did for credit cards. This guy might
Yeah.
be able to demystify for the gym pricing world. So New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani passed a bill that made it illegal to trap people in gym memberships. So I think it's only a matter of time till most people start looking at this. And this is just New York. Imagine you start going to LA, San Francisco, and you start going to the major hubs. I think this could be I'm sure tools like this exist, but this is really cool to see that he grew this anonymously and kind of through customer and just utility of society, that people needed this and they found value in it and they just started making it grow.
And it could start becoming a marketing tool for some of these like boutique gyms that aren't.
It's
getting
already
that much
becoming
love and
that,
recognition.
actually.
Yeah, people are probably placing ads on there saying, "Hey, like we have a major discount that's competitive compared to all the other gyms that are right now increasing their prices."
I want to find this because I did this in the analysis, but basically how it works is, okay, well, maybe I don't have it. Okay, it's somewhere, but essentially the business model is they give data to gyms to tell them how they rank against their competitors, how gyms are spending, or kind of seeing, like, they can do bespoke offerings to get people.
Right.
So it's what you said, you predicted, it's already happening.
So it's like a
cool to see.
competitive analysis tool for gyms, so they understand.
So there's
okay,
a
what's the
B2B
landscape,
front too,
who's- yeah.
right? It's pretty interesting.
I mean, it's competitive. There's gyms literally in every block, so the market's just like, it's difficult to play in.
Very difficult to plan. Moving to our deal desk covering the major investments and M&A activity that happens in the world of sports. Underdog, the daily fantasy sports company that pivoted into prediction markets, just sold for $1.3 billion to a publicly traded London-based company called the IG Group. So the upfront cash consideration put the enterprise value of Underdog to be at $1.1 billion, but there is an earnout of up to $200 million payable to Underdog shareholders. But you have more analysis on this deal. So break this deal down for me. Like, who are the main players? How is this structured? Give me the rundown.
Yeah, so everyone knows what Underdog is. It's the classic daily fantasy sports player that, had a similar upcoming as PrizePicks did. Underdog started in 2020 by Jeremy Levine.
Shout out Jeremy.
Shout
He's
out Jeremy.
actually a reader of the fourth quarter. And then shout out our good friend Sam Berman, right?
Head of guerrilla marketing at Underdog.
Newly head of guerrilla marketing.
Head of
Employee number
guerrilla
15 that runs brand, I guess, in marketing. He is a killer. And shout out Sam.
Sam, friend of the show. You're about to get a nice payday, which is we love to see.
Yeah, dinner on you for the foreseeable future.
But Underdog's a big player, and they've been crushing it on the DFS space for a long time now, since 2020. They took the market by storm, and I think that their marketing approach, the partnerships that they've made with influencers, content creators around the sports space, has really been a great distribution channel for them to become as big as they are. But naturally, there's a lot of evolution in the sports gaming space, and so now we've seen prediction markets becoming the go-to platform to make trades around the sports space.
Yep.
And Underdog was actually very, very quick to react to this trend, and they launched their own prediction market in September of 2025, and they've done a phenomenal job in terms of growth and building out their own exchange. Actually, there was a CNBC, on CNBC, I believe Jeremy, the CEO, was on CNBC talking about Underdog and their prediction markets play. They launched in September of 2025, and they're actually number 3 in notional volume flow since September 2025 amongst all the prediction market players at $6.5 billion. And so what they've seen is that they have a massive growth trajectory within the prediction market space, even though they're one of the 3rd or 4th players to come in the scene. Now, naturally, all these international players, they're seeing what's going on in the US with this prediction markets disruption. They're seeing how big the markets can be. In that same statistic, right? Underdog was at 6.5 billion at number 3. Kalshi was at 86.5 billion, number 1. Robinhood at 32.5, right? So this market is pretty dang big, and that's just from September 2025. And so now we have these international players who maybe are doing online brokerage or are doing gaming or are doing trading or building trading platforms for retail investors. They're looking at this market and they're saying, how can we get involved? And look, it's very difficult to get CFTC approval in order to build a prediction markets exchange. Obviously, we've seen a lot of players do it, but it's difficult. FanDuel is still in the process of like trying to build out their full-blown prediction market. So naturally, the next course of action is to acquire them. And so that's what IG Group is doing. It's a London-based fintech brokerage that does like crypto trading, options and futures trading platform for retail investors. And they wanted exposure into the U.S. markets.
Wow.
And so that's why they bought Underdog. Now, let's break down the actual transaction. How was it financed? So it's a $1.3 billion deal. The deal is funded with roughly $380 million in cash, 24.1 million in new IG Group shares that were issued. So that's equivalent to around 580 million equity value. So it financed about 60% of the equity needed to acquire Underdog.
So how does that work, Suraj? So basically, IG Group can say, we want to issue more shares and then give those shares as a part of this deal in addition to the cash to get Underdog?
Yes, exactly. So there's essentially
just out of
share
thin
swap.
air, you can just say like, we're going to make, arbitrarily 10 million more shares.
Right, because you're absorbing Underdog, right? So like the equity of the holdco is essentially what's being issued to finance a transaction. And so what we're seeing is that for a lot of these deals, IG Group has a $4.5 billion market cap, I believe, based on or around the time of the announcement, or 4.5 to 5 billion, let's say in that range.
Sure.
Let's be real, they probably don't have enough cash on the balance sheet to fully finance this by cash, or they don't want to put too much debt on the company or raise a bunch of debt on the company to acquire them. So that's why they have to go through the share approach. So a lot of the Underdog team probably has a bunch of equity in IG Group.
Got it.
But here's what's really cool that, Sam, you're going to be super happy about, and you definitely know about this, is that there's actually a management incentive plan where Underdog employees can get a maximum potential payout of $850 million. So that's an extra. So technically the full payout could be $2 billion plus for the entire Underdog team, depending on how they perform in the U.S. or depending on how they perform in the U.S. markets. But I mean, it's amazing. For some numbers, and just so everyone has context of how big Underdog is, they have 11 million plus registered accounts in the U.S., 5.5 million cumulative depositing customers, and 953,000 average monthly active users in the first half of 2026. They're on pace to hit 500 million plus in revenue this year, along with 100 million plus in EBITDA. So they're a monster of a company, a pretty big juggernaut for having started only in 6 years ago.
That's crazy. Insane. I don't even know what else to say to that because, I mean, I'm just happy for Sam.
Yeah, Sam's definitely balling out right now.
And shout out to our friend Wes Huber, who also just joined the partnerships team there. So, I mean, I think for a while we've known Underdog has been climbing the ranks and has been crushing in this space, but it's really cool to see like a big payday. And I think a lot of people outside of the traditional sports world have also, voiced their excitement around this. Like Mantis VC, which is the Chainsmokers VC, they were early investors and they were very early people to congratulate the Underdog team. Same thing with Marshall Sandman and Animal Capital, which is the VC arm, or I guess the venture capital firm from a lot of TikTokers,
Josh
LP,
Richards,
et cetera. Marshall Sandman on Instagram said an announcement that that was the fund's first $1 billion outcome. So really cool to see that there was many winners in this space, or many winners as a result of this Underdog outcome.
Yeah, and it seems like a trend because PrizePicks also went through the same process with Adam Wexler selling it to Allwyn.
Yep.
I think it was also around, if you include potential payouts to the employees, it's around $2 billion as well. So this was a huge market. The people that went into DFS very early on got a huge payday.
Yeah, I'm excited. Congrats to everyone involved. And I want to say we're moving on to my favorite section of the show, which is the new fund alert. But here's the thing.
New fund alert.
Producer Pablo, we do not have a new fund alert this week. Killed our 19-week streak.
19-week streak.
We should have reserved we should have honestly waited. Maybe this was the right time to do it, but to announce the fourth quarter fund or fourth quarter ventures.
Yeah, we have $10 million in capital actually ready to be deployed if you're building in sports.
No, we definitely, you're going to convince people that we actually do it. We don't, but I would have liked to save that in the time where we hit we're at 99 straight weeks and we needed 100 and there was nothing there. We just filed to make a fund.
File and make a fund.
Yeah.
Raise $10 in capital. Deployed.
3 GPs, me, you, and producer Pop.
Yeah.
Hey, we've also had a change in recording days, so maybe we should give ourselves 2 days.
Okay, all right, that's fair. So
yeah,
if
maybe something happens tomorrow, who knows?
Okay, so if there's anything this week, we'll count it, and for next week, we'll say the streak is alive.
Yeah,
good shout,
LSU
Pablo.
actually had a pump fake. They announced something, LSU Ventures, but it turned out it was just a media deal.
It was
with
a
private
media
equity firm.
Yeah, I got everyone excited, and then I read into it, and it wasn't anything crazy. Moving on to the Partnerships Podium, which is our new segment covering the world of what partnerships and sponsorships are being done in the world of sports. So sponsorship is one of the large commercial pillars that's worth multi-billions of dollars within this sector. And it's only right that we have a dedicated segment of the show covering it. And earlier this year, the NCAA cabinet approved D1 schools to place additional commercial logos across their uniforms, equipment, and apparel. And this week, financial institutions are buying their way onto college football jerseys. Here's what I mean. So Notre Dame and SoFi just struck a $120 million multi-year deal. So it's anywhere from between $18 million to $20 million over 6 years. It's the richest deal in college athletics history, and the first time a corporate logo will appear on a patch on Notre Dame's jerseys. SoFi becomes the official financial services partner of Notre Dame athletics and the first non-apparel brand to appear as a jersey patch for the Fighting Irish. SoFi will also establish a new annual $1.4 million fund supporting scholarships across the 26 sports, and plus a full tuition championship scholar, which is awarded to one men and one women's walk-on every year. So
wow.
Pretty cool. Cool to see that. I want to get your thoughts on all of this after, but let me just
I want to hear more.
list.
I want to hear more of these deals.
Okay, let me laundry list this. Next one, somehow the previous one was bigger than this one, but this one's still crazy. Ohio State and JPMorgan struck a $17 million per year deal. We don't know how long that deal goes, but JPMorganChase's first deal in college athletics designated to make Chase as the official bank sponsor of Ohio State athletics. It's a jersey patch partner across all 36 men's and women's varsity programs with new NIL resources for student athletes. We'll see what that means. Illinois and Busey Bank, Busey, Busey Bank. I don't know. Well, Illinois and Busey Bank, $30 million 5-year deal, jersey patch sponsorship, essentially, where Busey becomes the official financial services partner across several programs, but several programs were not included. So football, men's, women's, basketball, volleyball, baseball, softball, soccer, men's and women's golf were all included, but things like cross country, gymnastics, swim and dive, tennis, track and field, and wrestling were not. Interesting that it didn't blanket cover. Interesting for sure, right? Like I'm surprised that it wasn't the case and why they did that. So Busey's scale, I hope it's Busey or Bussy.
I think it's Busey.
Busey.
Busey,
Okay,
right?
we're
That's
good.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good job.
I'm getting better at pronunciation. Don't worry.
Yeah, I just wanted to correct you guys from earlier. Usually people pronounce UEFA instead of UEFA.
Oh, it's UEFA.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, okay, all
I
right.
didn't know that actually.
Producer Pablo, just cut us
Also-
off in the middle of our segment then.
Curacao, the country that you were talking about.
Did I say Curacao?
No, yeah, you said Curacao or something.
Yeah.
I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Anyway, Busey's scale, it's the first. So, First Busey is an $18 billion holding company with 79 banking centers across 10 states. And then the last thing that I want to talk about is Michigan State Michigan State University Federal Credit Union, which is a 10-year jersey patch deal, somewhere in the range of $40 million. Okay, here's why I think all these financial institutions are coming to race to put money into sports is college athletes and NIL. NIL is essentially making it so that these younger athletes, they're getting younger and younger and they're making more and more money. And now these banks and financial services partners want to be the front of mind for where these student athletes, hopefully turned professional athletes in very successful careers who have amassed many earnings across their lifetime, will choose them to be their banking partner and financial services partner over this horizon. And getting in at such an early level, an early stage of their life, I think is why they're trying to do this. Is that why? Am I reading this situation rightly or no?
So I would go even further. I think that one thing that makes college so special of a place to market is because it's all these consumers. They're starting their journey, whether it's them becoming a consumer in the real world, using their own credit card to buy items for themselves instead of their parents doing it for them. And so that's the beginning of their financial journey. Now that the gates have opened to market, for athletic departments to market and have partners, all the financial services are going to be the first ones to come in because they want to make sure that everyone in Ohio State has a Chase card, or everyone in Notre Dame is banking with SoFi, or everyone in MSU is using Michigan State's Federal Credit Union, right? And with Illinois with Busey Bank, right? So this is an actual really smart marketing strategy, and financial services are probably going to be the ones that pay the most because there's so much to gain. What I've seen is that, or what I've heard is that a lot of college students, their first partner that they bank with them for the rest of their lives. It's a really high percentage,
Okay.
right? So it's either it goes down from parent to child. So like if your parent uses Bank of America, you're going to use Bank of America. Or if you go to college and you're opening up your own bank account, you use the one that's closest to university or the university has a partner with, and you just stay with that bank forever. And so that's where I think the real opportunity is. It's for JPMorgan to build that big footprint in Ohio State or with any Ohio State fan, whether you're a high school student who loves Ohio State, which they go to Ohio State, even if they don't even go to that school, they're still going to remember JPMorgan, and maybe they're going to want to bank with JPMorgan and have a Chase Sapphire card. So that's where I think the opportunity is. What's really funny is that it's Ohio State JPM, it's SoFi Notre Dame, and then it's Illinois Busey Bank and like the
MSU and
MSU's
MSU Federal Credit
Union. It's like tier 1 and tier 2, where it's like you have the local
That's
banks working with
crazy.
like Illinois and Michigan State, but then you have like the mega juggernaut banks or financial institutions working with the Notre Dames, Ohio States of the world. It even goes deeper too. Crypto is a major player. They're working with the Big 12 schools. You have University of Kansas working with Ripple and their XRP coin, and then Big 12 working with Galaxy. So it's kind of interesting that there's like all these different financial players involved, and they're all kind of tiered in a way.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Well, it's not a podium if you don't rank them. So what's 3, 2, and 1 for you if you had to rank
Okay,
this?
number 1, Ohio State JPM. There's just got a big ring to it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Ohio State's a juggernaut of a sports team, and at the same time, JPM is a juggernaut of a bank.
Second place.
SoFi, or I would say second place, I got to put it SoFi. I just think that they maybe overpaid for Notre Dame. Maybe Notre Dame has that much reach. I know a lot of diehard Notre Dame fans.
Okay.
But they don't operate in a conference. I just feel like, do they really have like that much reach for them to be paying $20 million? But I do love that they have this $1.4 million worth of scholarships that they're going to be offering to student
good
athletes.
analysis. 3.
Third is I got to go with Busey Bank. I just love the name. I love Busey.
You're not a fan of the MSU Federal Credit Union. Huh?
MSU Federal Credit Union. And let's be real, it's
You
kind
just
of a
made
boring
some
name.
enemies. That's
No,
crazy.
I mean, hey, I like.
Don't step foot in Michigan. That's for sure.
Nah, I think it'll be fine. But I'm surprised Michigan didn't work with JPM. I don't know. That's interesting.
Well, Michigan State.
No, I know. I'm saying because Ohio State got JPM. What is Michigan? Who's Michigan's financial?
I mean,
partner?
we'll see. I don't
Yeah,
know.
we'll see. I mean, it seems like all these deals are coming in week after week. So
All right. New capital, new game formats. Welcome to our emerging leagues section where we ask, is this new sports league a billion-dollar opportunity? Today, we're covering Jake Paul's most valuable promotions, merging with Professional Fighters League, PFL, to create a combat sports empire ready to rival the UFC. So they're creating a combined company under the MVP banner across boxing, MMA, live events, and athlete development and global content distribution. The leadership is pretty interesting, right? So it's a pretty stacked group. They have John Martin, who is serving as the CEO, and he was the former CEO and chairman of Turner. Nikisa Bedarian, which is Jake Paul's longtime business partner, and Jake, they're both serving on the board, and he'll continue to run MVP's boxing verticals and blockbuster live events, which he has proven to do incredibly. And the money, so the capital partners behind this, it's existing PFL shareholders, 885 Capital and affiliated entities of Nighthead Capital Management become the founding investors of this new entity, also committing new capital towards this. And here's the combined scale, right? Nearly 400 athletes combined. PFL brings 300 plus fighters from more than 40 countries, 100 events that they've done across 14 countries since 2018, 24 events across 11 countries planned in 2026, roughly 150 hours of live content, and their distribution relationships are second to none. Disney, Netflix, ESPN, Sky Sports, PFL's 34 partners, and reaching more than 170 countries. I think this has the opportunity to be huge together. They've obviously, the MVP MMA proof point is that in their first MVP MMA 1, which was between Rousey and Carano into a dome in LA, it broke the attendance or viewership record of any MMA match ever. So Netflix viewership peaked at 17 million viewers, surpassing the 8.8 million benchmark from the Cain Velasquez and Dos Santos on Fox in 2011, which was the UFC's fight. So crazy. And just to top it off, PFL's recent history of cash insurgence also comes from Surge, which is the sports investment arm based in the Middle East of the PIF, which is the Public Investment Fund, Saudi Arabia. And they invested more than $100 million for a minority stake in 2023. We were just talking about this, but PFL reportedly before this deal was cited to be somewhere north of $1 billion valuation.
yeah,
What did I miss? I feel like I did a pretty good job running that down.
I think you did a great job. The leadership team is great. Obviously, we talked about John Martin. Nikisa Bedarian is also very involved. He was a CEO of MVP, working with Jake Paul. He's had experience working in the fighting scene. He was actually CFO and Chief Strategy Officer at UFC when they sold to Endeavor, which eventually became a subsidiary of Endeavor through a public company called TKO. So technically, you can actually buy UFC stock. But this is going to be really interesting because they're essentially going after UFC. UFC has their own boxing arm with Zuffa Boxing, and then they run the MMA show. And now we're seeing that Most Valuable Promotions is merging with PFL. The name is still going to be MVP. I think PFL's name is going to essentially be taken away.
Yeah.
And they're going after MMA. And the start was a Ronda Rousey fight. And the way that they're positioning themselves is that they want to be a fighter-first organization where fighter pay is the most important part of their business. And second, also growth of the sport overall through women's fighting, because what they've seen is that there's a massive growth in women's fighting. I believe that their star is Amanda Serrano, who's been, blockbuster for them for all their Netflix shows that they've done for MVP women's boxing. So I think this opportunity can exist in the women's MMA space as well. And then none other than Jake Paul, who's the master of marketing. He's had blockbuster fights from him fighting Anthony Joshua to Mike Tyson back in November 2024, which approximately had 108 million average minute viewers based on updated measurements, 65 million in concurrent streams. These are numbers that UFC is not even able to close to be able to hit. But obviously they have such a massive moat, and it was a Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight. It's pretty insane. Everyone wants to watch that. But it's like, hey, he's a massive marketer. Where's the long-lasting power of making all those PFL fighters really popular, just as UFC has done with Conor McGregor, Khabib, Islam, Gaethje, Pereira, all these guys.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think this will be super interesting. Dana didn't have great words to say, like we were recapping.
Yeah.
He was pretty outspoken about what this new, he's not worried about this new entity, but he did
Shall I
have.
say it? Shall I say what he said?
Actually, sure.
Yeah,
sure
all
if you
right.
want.
So this is what he said. He said, I don't know anything about what they're doing. It probably makes sense. When Bleep isn't working for anybody, we should probably get together. Let's take two organizations that don't sell tickets and nobody watches and let them merge together and make a bigger company that won't sell tickets to and that nobody will watch. Dana White, CEO of UFC. So it seems like he's unworried. UFC's obviously been on a rocket ship with the White House fight and the Conor McGregor fight. So they'll definitely be the number one, but it's good to have a number two, right? Because now it leads to innovation. Similar to what we saw with PGA Tour and Live Golf. Maybe we see something like that here.
Producer Pablo, we're going to have to make a new sound effect for what I want to say. It's going to be who just got funded, right? And it's going to be our startups space of who basically raised money. Function Health just announced a closing of $450 million in growth financing from General Catalyst Customer Value Fund. Function Health, if you don't know what it is a direct-to-consumer subscription health testing company. So you pay $365 a year. You get blood work done twice a year, and up to 160 lab test results come back in the app. This comes 8 months after Function's $298 million Series B that brings total capital raised to over $800 million since its launch in 2023. And the Customer Value Fund is General Catalyst's non-dilutive vehicle trying to use capital to grow customer businesses rather than just taking equity. So honestly, it's a very interesting non-dilutive way. It finances marketing and customer acquisition spend and takes a capped portion of the value generated by customers acquired with that spend and is only paid when the company is paid. So I love how they're actually business first, founder first. And I think it's awesome to see, investment firms use creative financing to help grow businesses like this. And we just covered this, but they use this mechanism. IM8, which is David Beckham's supplement company, also raised from General Catalyst's Customer Value Fund just a few weeks ago, just last week actually, which we covered. So here's the thing. I think General Catalyst loves these subscription consumer health companies, and wellness companies.
Yeah.
Fair to say.
I think so.
Cool. Moving into the world of collectibles. Tell me where I missed this, because I think you saw this one. Producer Pablo, we're going to have to throw up a picture of my Shohei Ohtani PSA 10 that our friend Crushable got me, because it's in my room at home, but I'll send you a picture for you to put up, Producer Pablo. But a Hong Kong firm called Grade 10 put a $10 million public bounty on a Shohei Ohtani card, and not a card that they've seen, not a card that, even existed yet, but one that was supposedly circulating in some boxes, and if anyone pulled it, they'd be willing to write a $10 million check to buy the card. And that card was still sealed inside wax box somewhere in America. Nobody knows where it was going to be. And then days later, a guy in Boca Raton, Florida, opens a jumbo case in his living room, pulls it, and within 24 hours, it's sold for $11 million, but not to this firm. It's to Kevin O'Leary's card fund. And now Kevin O'Leary has continued to make noise in the collectibles and trading card space. The 2026 Topps Chrome back-to-back gold Logo Man autograph relics card is a one-of-one featuring Ohtani. It has two autographs, two Logo Man patches. One is in English and one is in kanji, so it's it looks like a really cool card. And this comes just days after we saw Kevin O'Leary spend $2 million on stage at Fanatics Fest buying some rare trading cards. So I'm not surprised, but honestly, kind of want to root for the underdogs in the situation. I think someone who's not Kevin O'Leary is an underdog.
Yeah, it seems like grade 10 was the underdog because they had a bounty for it. And I wonder if there's like some like legal, a legal bounding of a bounty. Let's say like someone who's like, hey, like I want to be a part of this bounty. They sign it, and then when they pull the card, they have to sell it for 10 million.
Oh, that's
That'd be super interesting because maybe there was like some level of contest that grade 10 could have done where they could have made sure that all of the buyers or the people ripping the packs were bound, or if they were to pull this card, they were bound to sell it for 10 million, specifically only to grade 10. But here that wasn't the case.
So supposedly, I read somewhere, I don't know how true this is, but Kevin O'Leary's fund had a bounty of like $6 million. And then grade 10 came out of nowhere and put like 10 million. And now they thought they were going to be the winner. And then Kevin O'Leary sneaked them one more
up
time.
with 11. Yeah. So I think it was Matthew Shine Allen, who's like part of Kevin O'Leary's consortium, that bought it. And I believe the consortium is called Secure Collectibles, which is a pretty cool name for a fund.
It was the third most expensive trading card ever sold, by the way. So
wow.
Crazy.
Right below probably that Pikachu card, right? That Logan Paul
trading.
sold.
Yeah. There was there's I think 2 other sports ones, but
sports specific.
Sports specific ones, yeah. But producer Pablo, you're gonna have to throw up this picture because it's pretty cool. We have it in our document here. But Suraj, Professor Paramanu, we have some heavy hitting announcements, and I know we don't have a lot of time, so you're gonna have to give a crash course this week.
Yes. So Professor Paramanu in the building. Welcome to AP Prediction Markets, presented by Novig, the first ever national prediction market dedicated to the sports world, built natively around the sports trader.
Live nationwide starting today.
Yes. Today we're breaking down some of the biggest headlines around prediction markets and sports, and coincidentally, it's Novig that's been making the biggest splashes.
There's no bias in this reporting, by the way. They just happen to make the most noise this week, right?
Exactly. So first off, they had a landmark multi-year deal where Novig was named the New York Mets official prediction markets partner. Mets actually became the first Major League Baseball club to partner with a prediction markets operator, and the partnership includes in-stadium branding at Citi Field, broadcast integrations, and social media inventory. Jacob Vertinsky, the CEO of Novig, actually said that the mission is to build the home for sports trading. Partnering with one of baseball's most iconic franchises allows them to bring that vision directly to fans in one of the greatest sports markets in the world, which happens to be New York City. And the way that I see this is that signing a major partnership with sports teams and leagues is probably the best approach to establishing brand legitimacy amongst your target audience very quickly, especially in the sports gaming space. And we saw this with DraftKings and FanDuel when sports books became legalized. And in 2018 to 2021, we saw a massive race between FanDuel and DraftKings to build as many partnerships with teams and leagues as possible. And now we're seeing their logos everywhere we go. And that same thing is happening with prediction markets. We saw Polymarket became the official prediction market for MLB, UFC, and MLS. Kalshi did the same with NHL and Madison Square Garden. Now that Novig is in the fold, it's only imperative for them to continually build that momentum by signing with the Mets in the build-up for the next big announcement that Sid just alluded to, which is that they've officially announced their prediction markets exchange nationwide. You can now trade on prediction markets using Novig's app, and the relaunched app will offer contracts across professional baseball, football, women's basketball, ATP, WTA, tennis, UFC, and the PGA Tour. And it's also going to include player props and futures as well. And what's really interesting is that they're positioning themselves aligned with sports, with state regulators, because a lot of state regulators have not been okay with the fact that you can trade on Kalshi and Polymarket if you're 18 and older. And so Novig has essentially come out and said that you have to be 21 years and older in order to use Novig. So it's kind of smart positioning given that there's been a lot of noise around lawsuits against prediction markets, especially by the states. And so you kind of want to fly under that radar, which I think is a really smart strategy.
Smart in this landscape.
Right, exactly. When you don't know like what these state regulators or what this, federal regulators might even do as the states continue to pressure Congress. And so it's been quite the ride, and Novig's already surpassed $6 billion in cumulative trading volume, officially making it the America's fastest growing sports prediction market. So they're absolutely crushing it. Insane week. So for AP Prediction Markets, we want to give a shout out to Novig just because of all the awesome noise that they made.
Shout out to Novig on the Mets deal, on the nationwide launch,
and partnering with the fourth quarter. That's a lot. That's three big things that have happened in the past, a week or two? So.
Very, very big week. Shout out to our partners, Novig, for trusting us and also for us seeing their vision and growth before a lot of these things manifested, right? So I'm giving us some props here as well.
Exactly.
Thanks for tuning in fourth quarter. Leave a like, subscribe, drop a comment if you haven't done any of those. Check out our shorts. They've been ripping as of recently. And we'll see you very soon. Peace out.